It's the weekly wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the, weekly wrap. And this is my favorite part of the show, wherein I guess what's in Tim's background, right? I'm going to say, Tim, that you're sitting there between two ferns on the Zach Galifianakis set, and he is interviewing you, and it's a much better discussion than the one that we're going to have today. Am I right about that or no? What?
Well, that would be a much better discussion than what we're having today.
I think so.
No, you're very far off.
Oh, I'm sorry. What do we have here? Yeah, I should have guessed that.
Now, it's kind of like being at a bris because
yeah, right.
I'm getting ready for it to be cut.
Yeah, is that the actual kind of wire we're talking about that Governor Abbott is used? It's called what, razor wire, I guess. I'm not familiar with the various kinds of barbed wire, so. It's
razor. I think it's razor wire.
But it's very effective.
Look at it very closely. ABC World News Tonight actually showed people's wounds from it.
So, oh, really? What does it look like? Is it?
It looks like an emo kid got depressed.
Oh, there we go. Now I know a lot of people were down on Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett because she was sided with the liberals on it, and I defy anyone because I'm a lawyer, manner of speaking, and I tried to read the explanation for the legal twists and turns. I mean, they're almost as convoluted and as twisted as that razor wire behind you right now.
It's also called concertina wire.
Oh,
and the
sure.
reason for that, a concertina is a little accordion that you
for sure.
that you see stereotypical Italians playing.
Yeah,
and
right.
That's
right.
kind of shaped like that. So, but I think concertina wire can also be barbed rather than razored.
Oh, okay. Barbed rather than razored. And, now why do I all of a sudden have the desire to hear She's Too Fat for Me on the accordion? I'm just, and Amy Coney Barrett isn't, because I saw her standing there and she, she's a handsome woman, but, and as you know, we gauge everything, be it Donald Trump's attorney, hubba, or Supreme Court justices. It's all on how they look.
Sure.
But I was looking at some of the arguments, and it was like, okay, all right, fine, I get it. There's some procedural thing you couldn't side with Governor Abbott on this, and it doesn't sound like Governor Abbott's stopping anything anyway. I mean, he hasn't been impeded by the federal government yet, right?
No, he actually had the National Guard come out and put some more down. So
yeah, I think there was talk about Biden federalizing the National Guard, but I think it's more likely that Abbott is going to join up with some other states. And, here's the thing. He'll join up with these other states, and they'll start with keeping the quote-unquote migrants out of the United States. But then they're going to get the idea, hey, while we're here, while we're all together, it's Dixie time again. Yeah, don't you think? I mean, I could see Fort Sumter. Right. That'll be the intervening event in the Biden Trump basement election that's coming up.
With Biden though as the commander in chief, perhaps the Confederates will win this time.
This time for sure. So getting to the primary, I'll probably wind up voting for Trump again. I mean, even though I believe, as Mark Stein referred to Bill Clinton at one point as a credibly accused rapist. And there's no question. I mean, Trump is not only credibly accused, he's already been found liable for rape in New York. So I don't have a problem with Nikki Haley sticking it to him, like some razor wire over the next. And I'm going to overwork that metaphor throughout the next hour. That's why I suggest you tune into the best of Zach Galifianakis. I recommend the Paul Rudd interview. Fantastic. So I could see, it just seems fun to me to have, and you as a comedian have to enjoy it, to see Nikki Haley get under Donald Trump's skin. he got on he could have been magnanimous, trying to branch out and get those independent or suburban women to vote for him in the general, because he's going to need a few of them in some of the swing states. But instead, Trump, I mean, he was rattled by Nikki Haley.
Do you really think he was rattled?
Oh, so you don't think so? See, I think so. You're always thinking, oh, he's just joking.
Yeah.
When he says John McCain, I like my heroes not to be imprisoned. It's all about. It's not. It's not. Look, I mean, here's the acid test. I mean, Tim Scott's standing there, and to me, it's like, and I like Tim Scott. I would have voted for him for president, but then he's standing there. I mean, and Trump is ridiculing Nikki Haley and ridiculing Scott, and I mean, he's just one step ahead of Stephen Fetchit, standing there and cheering Trump on, huh?
Oh dear.
Oh, you think
I don't.
I just overstepped the bounds right now?
Yeah,
yeah.
little bit. It's
I think
definitely.
I think that's something that a liberal could say, but not a conservative. What is he? He's standing there. He's
well, that's what you're sounding like. You're sounding like a liberal to me. I mean, you go back in history, and the Jim Crow was passed by Democrats. So
right. We always got that to fall back on. And then I mean, DeSantis, and he's obsequious too.
I think I called that one, by the way. It's didn't I say really early on that he's not presidential?
Well, I mean, yes, you did. And here, to me, he's presidential in large part because I think I saw him give like one answer during this whole campaign, and it was fine during that. I don't like to look at these guys. I can't stand that it's so much cosmetics and theatrics. And then,
but it is.
And
DeSantis resembled me. To me, he always resembled Dukakis peeking out of the tank.
Yeah, no, I see that. I mean, DeSantis. I mean, look at this. Any guy, he is the one who actually had the best COVID policy, and Trump's was lousy. Trump was acting like he was a bystander to his own administration. By the way, a trick that Obama used as well, and. He's got Fauci on a pedestal there, and then he's tweeting out things that sound DeSantis-like during COVID, but it's his own administration he's in charge of, and he's not doing anything. And then on top of that, and I got this from Michael Brennan Doherty, reminded us of that in National Review, when the George Floyd summer came during all that, I mean, Trump was tweeting and stuff, but he wasn't doing anything. And, it's just...
Well, he sent in the National Guard, and they called him. They said it was proof that he was a Nazi. So I mean, I think what he did was, as I recall, he took a picture of himself at a church with the National Guard. I don't think he did after the National Guard cleared out the park.
He didn't do very much about those riots. He certainly was bad on COVID. I mean, he was bad on COVID. That was Ron DeSantis' calling card. And of course, DeSantis couldn't call Trump on it because, I don't know, he just had to fall in line. All right. So maybe, and if you're doing that and you're not willing to fight, then maybe you don't deserve to be president. All right. Trump confuses Haley and Pelosi. Is that just one of his jokes, Mr. Tim Benign view of everything Trumpian?
No. That happens to people all the time. When you're calling your kids, do you ever have to call 3 or 4 names before you hit the right one?
Sure. Again, there you are, the Trump apologist. I mean, but you won't apologize for Biden when he does that. When Biden does that kind of stuff, he's senile.
Well, he does it repeatedly.
Well, I think,
the media are focusing on this one incident where he said he confused Haley with Pelosi, right. which I could confuse Haley with Pelosi.
Of course, I mean they look exactly alike. And what an insult! What is Haley? What is she, like 30 years? Nancy Pelosi's junior. Anyway, all right. Somebody came up with the idea of a Biden-Trump golf match, and what do you think would happen? And it was on Twitter, and I said that I thought, somebody, and the guy in the tour golf guy on Twitter said Trump has to play from the tips, Biden gets to play from the women's tees. Well, if Trump plays from the tips, he's at Augusta National, he's probably going to score a 275. If every stroke is actually counted. I think Biden would wander off into Ray's Creek and drown himself accidentally. But I know you're not a golfer and everything. I'm putting you on the spot here.
Not a golfer, not in the least. But it looked like Biden was holding 2 clubs in that picture that Chris put up.
Right. It's okay. So double hitting is not a is not a crime. I got some people were saying that Joe would be too busy to swing. He would be telling us about the time he won the Masters. That was a good one. I missed your note there, Chris. And then he'd won his pudding after that. and Trump's pencil has an eraser. Biden doesn't know which end is up. So which, pretty good answers on that.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. So in conclusion, so on to South Carolina. I don't think that Nikki Haley, so it's going to be a moot point, but it doesn't sound like she has enough money to actually keep talking all the way through to the primary.
What's really funny is that she's actually spending millions of dollars to let South Carolinians know who she is.
Well, she's the one. And it's funny because I like her, except for the fact that she took down the Confederate flag. I thought, I'm like, I wasn't for the Confederacy. It was a bad thing, but everybody had made their peace, and
I still won't forgive them for taking it off the General League. I mean, that just seems
right. They did that.
They should probably change the name of the car if you're going to take the flag off the roof there.
Nobody's saying that the Confederacy was right, but okay, fine, get rid of that. Next thing you know, you're getting rid of statues of
Dukes of Hazzard. The Dukes of Hazzard are part of our history.
Absolutely. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
I think you've been censored for lying. Yeah, he's a danger, and I will stand up to him and Kevin McCarthy and Jim Jordan and any of those MAGA enablers of his in the Congress. The reason why our democracy is in trouble is because folks don't have the courage to stand up when they need to. Okay, thank you very much. So we're gonna keep. Let me just keep. There goes my name. All right, real quick. Sir, you lied to 300 million people. You can't take that back. Okay,
we're gonna Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Hey, I've loved Steve Garvey ever since he homered off Rick Sutcliffe in the 1984 playoffs and basically sent the Cubs spiraling towards ignominy. Yeah. So he doesn't have to do anything more than that. But if he's going to take down Adam Schiff, that's a bonus. I don't know if he did that. I mean, he tried, but it seemed like that Adam Schiff was able to slime his way out of that one. Yeah, well, that's why because Garvey isn't as experienced at doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
he doesn't know how to.
He is not a Trump. He doesn't have a nickname for him.
Right, he'd have to come up with names. Sanctimonious, or what did he call Nick? What does he call Nikki Haley recently? We came up
Shifty
with
Adam Schiff, I think, is the one Trump has for him.
Yeah,
someone else calls him the inchworm. I can't remember who.
And what's great about Trump is I've always said this: he's Oval Office funny, if that. Because even the names that he calls people are just stupid. I mean, they're like kindergarten names that you give. It's not even. That if you see his tweets, he's got like all capitals, capital letters. I don't know if you ever read The Education of Hyman Kaplan by Leo Rostin. It's about a Jewish immigrant who comes in and puts asterisks between each letter. I mean, that Trump is like one step away from that. This is a Wharton School graduate. Whatever.
So, why did he put asterisks between each letter? What was the?
It just thought, I don't know. I forgot exactly why he did that. I just probably thought that's the way it's supposed to be. They look kind of neat. I mean, maybe it was a precursor to MASH. Who knows? Maybe the guy was a genius. So, so where do you stand? I mean, and then of course Trump. Nobody really takes anything that he says seriously, but he kind of. So that's why. It didn't really even bother me that much when he said the other day that a president's got to have immunity, and basically sounded like you can go down, shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue if you're the president and you've got immunity. And
well, let's rewind a little bit
okay.
to 2009 when President Obama killed 4 Americans with a drone.
In fact, he killed Anwar al-Awlaki, a U.S. citizen. Say that, Tom Brokaw. Anwar al-Awlaki, a U.S. citizen, was killed by the U.S. government. Having been targeted
was it in Fallujah?
It was not in Fallujah, thank goodness. But he had been targeted for things he had said and written. And as Kevin Williamson wrote in his dispatch piece this week, this guy, was not a good guy, al-Awlaki. But what he had done was he had said things on Facebook. That's what he got killed for by President Obama.
Exactly.
Oh, right. That doesn't make it right.
Exactly. But so should we be able to drag him into court and prosecute him over that?
Should have been impeached, probably. Nobody said anything.
Yeah, but there's no statute of limitations on murder, so he could still be prosecuted for that, right?
Oh, that's a good question. That's an excellent question.
And that's the reason why presidents need immunity.
As Kevin Williamson said, Trump, for his part, recently was quoted in the New York Times saying that Ted Cruz shouldn't even exist. But after a guy has called your wife ugly and your father a murderer, and you still can't get on your knees for him fast enough, where else is there to sink? Oh, don't worry. If there's a lower place to sink, Ted Cruz will find it. I think that's a John Podhoretz thing that Kevin Williamson. Anyway, well, actually, because I saw Ted Cruz, there was there's some hearing, and Dick Durbin, Senator Sack of Illinois, Dick Durbin.
I like to call him Tick Turdbin.
There you go. Dick Durbin there was some guy of Islamic extraction who was up for a federal judgeship, and Ted Cruz had grilled him about his associations with various terrorist groups, and the JDL kind of exonerated this guy, and Dick Durbin said that and was ripping Ted Cruz about that, and then Cruz in high dudgeon goes, "You're impugning my integrity, Senator," and Cruz then came up with his own set of Jewish groups who thought the guy was not so kosher. But in any event, I just thought it was funny to see Ted Cruz do that and worry about his integrity being impugned when he's willing to, like step and fetch it, suck up to Donald Trump. I mean, what is with these guys?
I've always been a fan of Ted Cruz. He's another one like DeSantis that just could never be a president. Even though I think he'd be a good president, but yeah, very much so.
Well, Ted Cruz. I mean, with the Eddie Munster widow's peak, that didn't help him too much.
Yeah, I think that's why he grew the beard, was to draw his people attention away from his forehead.
Yeah, go down a few inches there. Hey, my former partner Dan Proft actually retweeted something of mine.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow, he finally acknowledged you.
It was a moment. So what happened was he tweeted Alexei Giannoulis, who Dan calls the failed mob banker, who's the Secretary of State in Illinois, right? Mm-hmm. So Alexei Giannoulis had a tweet in which he's standing there laughing with Governor Pritzker, and he says, "Happy birthday, Governor Pritzker. Thank you for your friendship and leadership. Also, you are really funny." And Dan tweeted, "Failed mob banker Ali G, as he calls him, has taken more balls to the chin than Mickey Mantle." And then I responded to Dan, "Well, Mickey Mantle was a switch hitter." And Dan then retweeted that. So kudos to me, to Dan, and to Mickey Mantle, who good old number 7, who batted both ways on that. So now I got fooled once again. I'm retweetable, but so this person comes up, seeming leftist, with a mask on, and talks on Twitter or TikTok about how toilets are an illustration of white supremacy because I think the colonists or whatever saw that the natives, that natives had to use the ground, holes in the ground.
Sure.
And this goes on. And
sure, you see Slumdog Millionaire? It's worse than just holes in the ground. Oh my Lord.
I tweeted in response to that, she's pulling our chain. And I was, doing a toilet joke, of course.
Yeah,
but I didn't realize it, although I can hide behind that now. I could say, oh, see, it was a joke. She's pulling our chain. She's not really a radical. But I didn't, I'm being honest, I didn't know that. I thought it was just a radical. And then I said, she's pulling our chain. And that's me, Mr. Knight. Because you know what? It sounds like something that they would say. That's the problem.
It's called Poe's law, is that when a position is so extreme that it's impossible to detect whether it's satire or not.
Right. Right. I mean, it's our truth is stranger than fiction, we say in our fortune cookies, I believe. But yeah, Poe's law sounds.
You know, though, Bruce,
you
didn't have to acknowledge that. I mean, you would have responded, she's pulling our chain, even if you knew it was satire.
I know.
It wasn't as vicious. It's not as vicious as a remark when you know it's satire. It's saying, ooh, look, I want to get out on this one because it's so good.
Right.
Whereas the other way is, look at this broad.
Right. No, I guess there's, occasionally, you know what I do? I like to be honest on occasion when I don't have to be to cover up, for when I'm committing fraud, or when I'm doing something as nefarious as trying to buy off a senatorial candidate like KARI Lake. That's this news. The Republican honcho in Arizona is on tape. She was recording him.
Yeah.
Hussy. Recording him.
She's good.
Yeah. She's recording him, and he's
good.
bribing her to quit the Senate race. And then he, what's great is he wants to quit and just go back into the private sector, and he's afraid that she's going to blackmail him. And she says, I'm not blackmailing you. Well, it does sound like she is blackmailing him, and she's got the recording, right?
What? By releasing the recording of his attempt to bribe her?
Well, no, right, but I mean that yeah. So, but
it's for me, it's beautiful because that's the kind of stuff that we always suspect goes on inside party politics. Why somebody drops out of a campaign, then all of a sudden gets a really nice position on K Street. We always suspect it, but here she put it right out there.
Look, I understand there's a lot of horse trading that goes on. Sometimes, you get a Senate seat that opens up and it's effing golden, and there's horse trading. Earl Warren gets to be the Supreme Court justice. Eisenhower gave that to him. That's horse trading. Okay, I get it. Sometimes you ask somebody who's an election denier to get out of the race so that they can actually win Arizona. And of course, you think that she's, it'll be rigged again, right? When she loses. I mean,
as long as it's not, she'll win. That's
exactly.
That's my suggestion there.
Right, because every time an election denier loses an election, there's
a whole bunch of stuff that just doesn't smell right about the elections lately, and it's I don't know if you saw this. It was just came out a couple days ago that CISA, I believe it is, the cyber whatever, that they knew that there was going to be trouble with the election, that they worked to censor any doubt about the election, and
can I take that under advisement and respond to it next week since I don't know anything about it?
Sure.
I mean, I'm always open to the tinfoil explanation.
And they knew that there was no risk of COVID in the 2020 eletion. They knew there was no risk.
What do you think I'm concentrating on when I'm looking at KARI Lake? What do you think? All right. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap.
The ponds, I think.
Bet you didn't see this one coming. I told you they didn't know. Jon Stewart is returning to Comedy Central to reclaim his former gig as host of The Daily Show. I actually hosted the program, to be honest with you. The Daily Show had a white host. Yeah. Stewart will host one night a week on Mondays through the presidential election in November.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. Well, I feel so bad for Jon Stewart. I mean, to go back, you can't go home again. This is like Billy Madison going back to the third grade. He's going back to, and unfortunately,
is he really?
Well, he says he's just doing it on Monday, so it's not like he's doing the whole thing. They're going to have rotating guests. They haven't been able to find a permanent host for that show. Maybe the show's trying to tell them something, that they should just sink it. It's
I don't know. It's rather than going back to the Billy Madison, going back to the third grade. It seems more to me like Lucille Ball doing a sitcom in 1987.
Right.
That's what it seems more like to me.
I would like to see Jon Stewart on a conveyor belt, trying to fill chocolate boxes. That would be more interesting. And then you think everybody else has moved on. I mean, Steve Carell, I'm watching the reruns of The Office, which went off the air like 10 years ago. He started on The Daily Show. And, he's gone, way beyond that. Like him or not, what's his face on CBS, as the late night show, and he's just a shill for the Democrats, but he's gone way beyond that.
Colbert. But what has Jon Stewart done? Jon Stewart, he had his own show on Apple Plus, and that went kind of nowhere.
A movie. I think he made a movie. And Kevin Williamson, I mentioned him earlier. He sent up Stewart years ago, when he was doing the Daily Show, because remember Stewart, I mean, you talk about smarminess. He was on Crossfire or whatever and was saying, you guys are the political guys, I'm just the comedian. And they hide behind that when like just a comedian, like any comedian. What is a comedian doing? He's telling the truth with jokes. Okay, so who are you kidding, buddy? You're taking a pie in the face. I mean, that this wasn't the Stooges that you were doing. You were doing political humor. But
I don't know how well it's going to go, because when he left, I mean, it was just him. He had a monopoly on it, right. And now there's like half a dozen other guys doing the same kind of shtickle that he was.
Right. I mean, look, and that happens everywhere. Right. He was, he was one of the first, and
now it's saturated. Now it's so much.
No. I mean, you've got the late night guys. I mean, how is he going to replace the garbage from Kimmel and Colbert and their little ping pong match?
It's like when Air America tried to get going. It's we need a left wing talk radio. No, we have NPR. Okay,
I had
the left hand, but the left hand side of the dial is overcrowded with left wing talk.
My general manager at WLS, when we were there, and he said the reason right wing radio worked and left wing didn't was that left wingers didn't look to radio for the spoken word. They got their radical stuff from the music, like WXRT. Well, look who died the other day was Melanie. And, I just listened to that song, and I loved it when it was out. And I don't even know, I'm sure it's a left-wing screed, but that crying song that she did, it was a great song. It was a great song. Not the I Got a New Key song. It was this.
That New Key song, it took me, it was only the past couple of years that I realized that was sexual.
Oh, now you're telling me. Thanks. Spoiler alert. I didn't even know that. And there's a rebuttable presumption that all these songs are sexual or they're political. And I'm sure she was at Woodstock.
Well, imagine how a key fits into a roller skate. Say no more.
Sure. Yeah. Or as my sex education teacher in sophomore year of high school at Niles East said, if you're not erect, and it's like a marshmallow trying to get through a keyhole. So that was, always like that metaphor there. I was pretty good for a wrestling coach. So anyway, let's move on to other guys.
Well, no, I wanted to one other thing I wanted to mention was the Daily Show. I mean, the franchise, since he left, the franchise has just gone to the toilet. There's no there's been no one that's been able to follow his a popcorn box. And I think the reason is they probably the logical successor, I think, to the Daily Show was John Oliver. John Oliver should have been the next Daily Show host. But They passed him up for a DEI.
Exactly. I mean, I never watched that Yannick Noah or whatever his name is.
Trevor Noah.
Yeah. Anyway,
He's not even an African American. He's a South African American.
Exactly.
Okay? Yeah. But you can't. John Oliver. They didn't want another white guy, and you can't get any more white than a guy from the UK.
Yeah. Right. No, I totally understand that. So, pivoting here, I saw a tweet from my dear old friend Rich Roper. It's a picture of him and Roger Ebert, at the pinnacle of Rich's career with Trump. And apparently he's saying even back then, they weren't buying into that bull 20 years ago with Trump, but they took a picture with the guy. Interestingly, if you want to open the door and talk about politics, Rich, Roger was anti-abortion. How do you want to debate Roger about that, Rich? Also, I used to read, Roger would occasionally write for the Sun-Times. He'd stray out of the balcony and write about politics, and he didn't know what the hell he was talking about. He actually ripped Reagan for calling the Soviet Union the evil empire. Okay, but in fact, it wasn't it? Ask all the East Germans who vaulted the Berlin Wall a few years later. Roger also ripped creationists. This was a little bit after the Scopes trial, but he ripped creationists and said that mutations make things better. Except he failed to mention that lots of mutations don't. But that's the belief in evolution. Everything gets better all the time. It doesn't. Oh,
well, look at that picture again, and tell me if mutations are making things better.
Oh yeah. Roger. One of my favorites was Roger ripped George Bush II for a Texas program when Bush was the governor of Texas that Roger believed it discriminated against minorities, but in fact, it helped minorities by mandating that colleges take the top 10% from all high schools. That means you were taken from the bad high schools too, where the minorities were. But Roger, he didn't get that. So I'd say Roger was about as off. Did
Roger actually believe that high schools aren't segregated?
No. He believed they were segregated. He just didn't. He was trying to accuse George Bush of being discriminatory. He wasn't. He was actually trying to help. And it was actually an affirmative action kind of program. Anyway,
that was actually a big scam. There's a lot of kids that weren't good enough to get into like an Ivy League school would transfer to an urban school because they knew that they could be the valedictorian.
Oh, I totally get that. Absolutely get that. Meanwhile, Turkey has opened the way for Sweden to get into NATO. Boy, oh boy. And I hear that Oregon and Washington are next. That's a Big Ten joke there for you. Just let that one go. So did you see that blacks are suing the city of Chicago over the migrant issue? And I'm thinking to myself, hey, you voted the guy in, Mayor Johnson. Should we reimpose literacy tests for polling for the polls? Because for your own good.
Oh my! Boy, I thought you reached the pinnacle with the step and fetch it.
Yeah, right.
Oh my goodness!
Fortunately, this show's over in about 10 minutes because yeah. But I mean, what do you want? I mean, you voted this guy in.
Well, and now the whole sanctuary city thing, it's just so amusing. It's, oh no, we love our neighbors to the south. Just not here. No, we like them. We like them in the red states voting for Democrats. That's totally. Sanctuary much.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. And then there's this I didn't even think this existed anymore. The doomsday clock. It apparently is at 90 seconds to midnight now. Yeah. We've been living. You talk about the boy who cried, Bruce Wolf. I mean, this has been going on since I've been alive. I think. How old is it? And
they're gonna run out of seconds because I think when I was a kid, I think it was like 12 minutes to midnight.
Yeah. It was around then. And I love this virtue signaling with the doomsday clock. I used to belong to a synagogue that they actually had signs, and it was pretty common in liberal areas where they'd have lawn signs that said it was a nuclear free zone. So I used to imagine, well, okay, Soviets pass over, it's like the pestilence doesn't kill our firstborn. Right. It's, Yeah.
Little
the
bit
A-bomb
of
should
little,
go over to
little,
St. Peter's Church over there. We're the nuclear free zone.
little bit of lamb's blood on the doorway is better than iodine tablets.
Oh, there you go. So, anyway,
that's and actually, I think it should have set the clock should have been set back when Trump exited the Iranian nuclear deal, because we were so much further away from Iran getting a nuclear weapon during during those 4 years.
Chris reminds me that the clock has moved up to 90 seconds because of climate change. It's not even Oppenheimer anymore. It's climate change. I just saw another guy, Nobel Prize winner, just saying, "Oh no, don't worry about it. It's all overblown." And I'm going with that. I can't even name the guy, but
well, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do about it. I mean, even if we are responsible for what's changing in the climate, there's no way short of a war with China, India, Russia, that we're ever going to be able to get the rest of the world to stop burning coal. There's no way.
But if we start living in mud huts, and if we stop using toilets, which of course are part of the white colonial imperialism, we know that.
Well, in Afghanistan, that's how they heat their homes. They burn their dung. Did you know that? Is that you have to, when you're finished with the bucket, you have to smear it on the sunny wall.
No wonder
so that
guy
out.
was hanging by the wheel of our plane when we were flying away. I want a toilet. I don't want to use my tongue. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
Wiz of Oz for me, it happens in Englewood. It happens from the Grove Wiz in the bottom, which is Garvey Park, which is a part of Englewood, and it takes place under She Falls into Englewood. The original Wiz of Oz took place during the Great Depression.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. So supposedly this guy is creating a gay Wizard of Oz. I guess he's stuck in the rainbow.
I hate to tell him it's he needs to count the Dorothy costumes at the next Pride parade.
Exactly.
Wizard of Oz is already pretty gay.
Look, I thought Bert Lahr as the Cowardly Lion. Come on, fella. Well, you didn't have to do that to me. I mean, come on. It's already.
Yeah. It's the Tin Man. Oil me.
Yeah,
no, not there. Lower.
Hey, I think Toto was the only straight one. And he's also going to do It's a Wonderful Life somehow, a gay version of that.
You know what I have to say about that? Out you two pixies go, either through the door or through the window.
Well, Bert and Ernie were supposedly gay on Sesame Street, and they are named for It's a Wonderful Life characters. So maybe it already has its gay.
A gay friend of mine pointed out that that's why Nick threw the two of the Angel and George Bailey out of the bar, is we don't need any characters in here to give the joint atmosphere.
A euphemism, right? Right.
Right. Uh-huh.
And oh boy. So we just we saw KARI Lake a couple of segments ago, and so my appetite has been resuscitated. Let's talk about Sports Illustrated dying. It's gone. Of course, everybody remembers the swimsuit issues. And Sports Illustrated is gone now.
It's but in my day, that was that one issue was the excuse why boys their parents would allow them to subscribe to it because they thought it was a sporting magazine. But there was only one issue that the young teenage boys looked forward to.
I agree.
And it's when mom started getting Victoria's Secret catalogs, that was all over.
It was it for Sports Illustrated.
You got one of those catalogs every month.
Yeah, I was actually featured in Sports Illustrated 41 years ago
in a swimsuit.
Yes, of course. Wayne Gretzky was on the cover as the Sportsman of the Year, and they did a little piece in the scorecard section, including a cartoon of me because I was the lawyer who did the sports from his law desk. And there's a cartoon. I mean, it was great. I'm also responsible, somewhat, at least tangentially, for the longstanding feud between Michael Jordan and Sports Illustrated. He wouldn't talk to them for a long, long time. Because when he tried to be a White Sox player in spring training, I was like in the third wave of people interviewing him after his inaugural game with the White Sox, because I was the least aggressive reporter ever. Oh, okay, we got to surround Michael Jordan. I'll be the third wave. And I'm standing there with some other reporters, and I've got the TV camera guy with me. And there's a reporter for Sports Illustrated, their writer, baseball writer named Steve Wolf, WULF, no relation. And I asked Jordan about this one play, a controversial call. He had it was like a swinging bunt, and he was called out at first base. And he said, "I thought the ref should have called me safe." The ref. So he called an umpire a ref. And I looked at Steve Wolf when Jordan said that, and Wolf looked at me, and he used that like right at the top of near the top of his story, the cover story for Sports Illustrated that next week, which I believe the headline was "Bag It, Michael," and you can't play baseball. So I feel a little bit, responsible for Michael Jordan's feud with Sports Illustrated. But yeah, I mean, and then of course, back in the day, we had to do these sweep series. So like when I got started in television, and so my producer, who shall remain nameless because I think he's still trying to work in the industry, we decided we do a sweep series, like 4 installments on women in sports. This is like in 1987. And so like the first day they actually surprised me with Morgana the Kissing Bandit. Okay, I wouldn't even look at her. She was on the set. They brought her in, and I didn't even look at her because I was afraid my wife would kill me if I looked at Morgana the Kissing Bandit. But she was on the set. And then of course we had another segment and
that was in those days, that was women in sports back then.
Exactly.
There was no swimming competitions, no WNBA. No, it was Morgana the Kissing Bandit.
No University of Pennsylvania men trying to compete in women's sports. It was with their
no women's soccer, winning.
There may have been, but that's not how we viewed women in sports. Okay. We also did an installment on the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, and I never forget they did Sports Illustrated Woodson. That's a picture of Morgana right there. That we did the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, and they would send along clips of preparing for the issue, in whatever Great Caribbean island they were shooting. And you'd see the makeup person with a makeup brush, but putting makeup on like a swimsuit model's tushy, which was that was what counted for that one of the days. The Blackhawks used to have this shoot the puck contest between periods. Okay. And they'd bring out a woman in spiked heels, a very sexy woman, not Morgana. She would have tipped over holding the hockey. Maybe the hockey stick would have held her up. But they bring out these. She got
a pair of Stanley Cups there.
You got it. And so we had, that was really good. So I've lost track. So we were going to do it one day, and we actually went to tape this. And I was, all set to my smarmy ridicule of this girl and interview her about shooting the puck. And she was like a Skokie police dispatcher, and she was so cute and so nice that I didn't have the heart to do it. I mean, I did it straight. Oh, here she is shooting the puck, and I couldn't be mean. I mean, so that's why I didn't win an Emmy that year, because I couldn't be mean as I was trying to send up women in sports. But that was so. Goodbye, Sports Illustrated. Maybe
do you blame their demise on the woke covers of late?
I think people have it backwards a lot of times, because I think a lot of entities are going broke and then they go woke, trying to save it. Like ESPN hired that Jamel Hill to be a politicized sports commentator, and they only did that because people were canceling ESPN. And yeah, I mean, like Budweiser with Dylan Mulvaney, and I can't believe I still remember his name. They didn't need to. They had a great thing going with that urine water that they sell, and now they're having to resurrect it with Peyton Manning throwing cans at everybody in a bar. But yeah, so that's an illustration of go woke and go broke. But a lot of times they're going broke already, and then they go woke, and
so might as well go woke. Yeah.
So that's one of the problems there. And And did you see that Tom Skilling, who's retiring right now, I guess, he shows a picture of him and his fellow WGN weather guy. I think he's a weather guy there, Sean Lewis, on Twitter. They were vacationing together in Hawaii. And I think we have a
with their spouses or just together.
Well, I don't know if they have spouses. I'm not sure about that. So, and so I.
So who knows weather?
Well, here's the it made me think of Kevin Matthews' famous "Is it wrong?" And when I'm saying that, I'm saying, is it wrong to be on vacation? Like Michael Bolandic was in '79 while there was a big snowstorm. This is when, that was sent out. That's what I'm talking about. Invoking the Raymond Burr impersonation right there. Then there's also
Kari Lake again.
There's Kari Lake walking off the stage.
She's my number one choice for Trump's VP pick, by the way.
Well, they would, or maybe they could offer her to run onto the field at baseball parks like Morgana and kiss ball players, the kissing bandit. So do we have that clip of Joe Biden making mistake and he's in Virginia? Or I think he was just joking, right? It's hard to tell. But he's introducing Terry McAuliffe, the real governor of Virginia.
The real governor, Terry McAuliffe.
Terry McCall.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. The crime there is that he just, I'm just going to give you 2 syllables. That's all. That's all I got left in me in the tank is 2 syllables.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's they caught Jill's drop again.
But I mean, it's not a good look for a Democrat. Democrats are supposed to be defending election integrity right now, and
but I mean they've always done that. Hillary did that. Sure. Al Gore did that. I mean that was a standard operating until
they did
2020.
it in 2004 too with Kerry in Ohio. I mean, they're known to do that. And did you see that?
Stacey Abrams too. And,
right, of course.
She's the real governor of Georgia.
They are going to be doing the Black National Anthem at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. No surprise.
Well, the thing is that I think they should have Taylor Swift sing it if the Kansas City Chiefs are in it, and they should put the game on Peacock so that you have to subscribe.
I'm into the 3rd season of Yellowstone, so I'll have Peacock for at least another couple months.
Yeah, we have it so that we can watch The Office, the extended episodes.
Oh,
they're actually like 40
what did they do there? Did they I saw that they were advertising that last night. Did they re-edit them? Did they stick in outtakes or something?
I mean, it's like you actually. I mean, I haven't been able to tell the difference because it's my first round through, but there are scenes in there that never made it into the regular half-hour sitcom. And I mean, they're all good. I mean, it's just.
Well, in the final seasons, it's you look at what they actually put on the air in those final seasons, and you wonder how bad the stuff they cut was.
Well, is that after Michael Scott leaves?
A little before, even before that.
Really?
I thought it had run its course. It wasn't darkly funny like it was in the first seasons. It was more like a feel good sitcom. Like,
well, there
more
were
like
some
Fonzie comes in the house and everyone applauds kind of stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if they exactly jumped the shark. I mean, they did try to make Michael Scott look lovable when he and his bride to be are shipping off, and I mean, of course, you had to suspend your disbelief quite a bit with that series because any one of those characters would have been fired from a real job in the first episode. Every single one of them would never have worked again,
except for Toby.
Toby, right? Exactly. So yeah. I get it. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Went way.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.